Hello, everyone. My name is Corey Shields. I'm a subject matter expert here at Intiva, and I'm going to walk you through today's webinar, Password Best Practices for Your Business. We'll keep things brief and use this PowerPoint as a guide through this quick webinar. Let's start with this outline. We're going to go through problems with passwords, the password do's and don'ts. We're going to do a live walkthrough of multi-factor authentication. It's a very important step into the future of passwords if you don't know anything about it. We're going to go over some simple things that everyone can apply to any password they use anywhere. And we'll end with a quick look to the future to see where we think passwords in general are going in the coming years. So what's the problem? Passwords are guessable and they're easy to steal. And this leads to two trains of thought in my mind. I've seen this a lot through many years working the help desk. You have, because of the structure of passwords, you have two ways that people tend to handle them. You have the first group that creates an incredibly simple password, like the word password, or the name of their dog or their spouse or their kids with an anniversary date, something like that, something incredibly easy or simple to remember that is honestly very guessable by any determined hacker. They can try brute force with things like password and common words like that, or they can, if they really are determined, they can use social engineering and things like that. They can go to your LinkedIn page, your Facebook page, find the names of your spouse, your kids, your anniversary, your birthday, all that, and they can try those combinations over and over again to try and get into your account. So that's option one, is the simplistic password group. And then on the other side, you have the overly complex group, where maybe your password requirements at work are particularly rough. Say it's 20 characters, you have to use special characters, capital letters, numbers, all this combination that just makes it impossible to use a real word. Basically, you have to use this complicated string of text. People forget those passwords. You can't develop the muscle memory for a 20 character password that's all over the place and isn't an actual word. So they will either have to constantly have their passwords reset, which leads to a lack of productivity, and it wastes your IT guy's time and all that, or they do the more common option, which is to simply write down their password. And there's nothing more dangerous to a business than passwords that are written out in plain text, sitting on desks. Someone walks by, they can simply remember the password, they can steal the Post-it note you wrote on, they can snap a picture of it. There are a lot of risks involved with writing down a password. So those are the two trains of thought we typically see from the help desk because of passwords. And the other option here, or I'm sorry, the other thing to keep in mind is that mobile workers aren't in secure locations all the time. I work remotely. I live in West Virginia, and I've worked remotely my entire career. The network that I'm on is secure. I have a secure virtual private network connection to work, but most people don't. And you may think to yourself, well, I only have a computer at the office. I don't have a computer at home that I work from or anything like that. But I bet you have your work email on your phone, and you may log in to check something or something like that. Anytime that say you're at Starbucks and you jump on their Wi-Fi and you check your work email, that's a non-secure connection. And these are, no matter how secure the network is at work, it doesn't matter if you're on a public network and you're transferring work data. Someone could steal, they could be listening in on the network, they could steal your password from that. So passwords lead to a lot of problems in a lot of different ways. And everyone is at risk. And I used to think that it was large entities that were usually at risk, like Capital One, Chase, Discover, all these banking, financial type of businesses, especially. I always thought they would be especially at risk because of the dealings in their everyday business. But 81% of company data breaches are due to poor passwords. And that applies to everyone. And smaller businesses don't have the money to spend to protect their information, because everyone is clearly using bad passwords. And we have an example here. Troy Hunt, who's a respected IT industry guy, someone asked about verified Twitter accounts getting hacked all the time. Just you see all these verified Twitter accounts sending out spam and spam messages and posting all these malware links. And they're saying, why does this keep happening? And he says, let's stop saying hacked in the news headlines and start saying used a bad password instead. It's just everyone goes the route, it seems like, even if they start on that second option I talked about of making a complex password and writing it down or something like that, they all tend to veer back to the first option of something you can simply remember, which is going to be a name or a date that is constantly, it means something to you. So small businesses, they simply don't have the funds to protect themselves. Whereas these larger entities, they have IT security teams inside their organization. And this is where something like an IT service provider like Intiva, they can outsource the security basically for these small firms. So, your small business can be protected by a team that's maybe even larger than your own team, because that's what it's going to take to protect against bad passwords. Small businesses are targeted more frequently because the bad guys know that the small businesses don't have the money to protect their data. So let's go to some password do's. For IT administrators specifically, we need to rethink our password requirements. This kind of points to option 2 of the complexity requirements of the use special characters and use this many digits and capitals, and it just leads to productivity being lost because people have to reset their passwords all the time, and IT guys are stuck with resets or writing down passwords, which, as I've already told you, is about as dangerous as it can get. And we need to require multi-factor authentication. Just it needs to be a requirement, period. It is the best method to protect our data that's readily available today, I think. And as for users, utilize a password manager and get creative with your passwords. Don't use one specific password over and over and over again. Don't use the name of your son, your daughter, your wife, your husband. Try different things that maybe you still can remember, but maybe not a proper noun in general. Let's walk back here to this password manager. If I can back out of this PowerPoint, I want to show you, this is my browser. This is Mozilla Firefox on my Mac. And I have this up here. This is LastPass. This is a free product. They do have premium options available, but honestly, for a regular user, all you need is the free version. LastPass has basically taken that Post-it note of option 2. They've taken that away. It's almost like a digital Post-it note. This takes every password you enter and it saves it. It can manage all of your logins anywhere on the internet, anywhere in your browser. It can save your logins, and all you have to do is remember your one LastPass password. So you log into LastPass, you don't have to worry about any other passwords. And you can see it also has these fillable items where it takes care of forms and things like that for you, but there's a vault where all your logins are stored. Obviously, I won't open that for security purposes, but you can even have it generate a secure password for you. So you don't have to worry about, slipping up and using a proper name or something like that, or a date that means something to you. You can have LastPass generate the secure password for you, and then you'll hit OK, and it will save the login for you. So there you have a secure password, and you don't have to worry about remembering it because you're logged into LastPass. This will work on, I know it works on Chrome and Internet Explorer and Firefox. So there are 100 of these kind of password managers, but I've used LastPass for several years now, only the free version, and it does a great job because I have the peace of mind of having secure passwords for my logins while also not having to remember these crazy strings of text. So definitely look into a password manager, not even for work, for your own personal accounts. It's a really useful and secure option. And let's go to some password don'ts. IT administrators don't require these frequent password changes. We need to kind of we need to get away from that. I've seen companies require every 30 days, every 45, 60, 90. And again, it leads to more of those resets because this kind of goes down the option 2 route. It has the same results as that more complex password route of people forget, they reset them, they write them down. And honestly, the security of changing your password every 30 days, it's not worth the trade-off of losing that productivity time and the frustration of not remembering your password. And we also just stay away from the complexity requirements. It doesn't do much. It can help with brute force attacks where someone just finds your email address and tries every password they can because maybe you're using the word password, but instead of the word password, you put an @ symbol for the A. That makes the password technically more difficult to guess, but the complexity requirements thing, it's gone too far at this point. And for users, the password don't share your credentials with anyone. Don't keep a master document that's password protected that, or I've seen some that aren't even password protected. They're just on a shared drive inside of a business where they keep all of their logins for their social media, for their bank accounts, things like that. That is, you're just asking for it. If you have one centralized location of passwords like that. And also, I know I've said it before, but it bears repeating. Do not write down a password ever for anything. Don't do it. It's that's pretty self-explanatory at this point. You need multi-factor authentication. And if you've never heard of it, multi-factor authentication, also called two-factor authentication, requires a second step to verify your identity when logging in. And this, we've written a lot about it. We offer a security service for this MFA. It's basically a way to add an extra step when you're logging in. Even if you have your password, say you broke the rules, you wrote down your password, they know your username, unless they've stolen your cell phone, which seems highly unlikely these days, to steal a password and a cell phone would take some pretty creative thievery. But without that second step of verification, they can't get in. Even if they have your password, they cannot get in. So I want to go through, because we use a product called Duo for work, and I wanted to show real quick. This is how I access our work servers. And I'll grab my phone here. And we'll start this secure connection. I'll have to type in my username and password. See, this is just the normal process, username, password, logging in, and then it's going to try and secure the connection. And my phone is ringing. And I know you can't hear it, but there's a voice that basically says, press any key to verify who you are. So I'll do that, and it'll secure again, and type the key, and automatically hangs up. And there we go. I am in. So that took an extra 5 to 10 seconds. And even if someone had my Intiva credentials, even if they had my username and password, it wouldn't matter because they don't have my cell phone. They can't verify that they are me, so they'll never get in. MFA is the cheapest and most readily available method of securing accounts. We can't keep making passwords more and more complex because of the reasons I've already stated. We have to find another way to verify who we are without typing in these strings of text. And MFA for 2019 seems to be the way to go. Let's go through a few simple things. These seem really basic, but these are the things that everyone needs to do for every account they have, work or not. Work, personal, doesn't matter. Force password entry after sleep. I see this a lot with Windows 10, and of course I'm on a Mac, but I do work on PCs as well. With Windows 10, you're forced to create Microsoft accounts. You're forced to enter a password when you first purchase the PC. You're required to do that. And the same with Macs. You have to create an Apple ID with a password and things like that. But then people will go in after that initial creation and they'll turn off the require password at wake or require password when turning on. They'll turn that off. And that is just, you're just asking for trouble with that. Or they'll, another popular thing that I don't think people put it together, they'll set their computers to never go to sleep. So they'll walk away and the computer will still be on 4 hours later and anyone can walk up to it unless you logged out, which you probably didn't, just guessing. You need to leave the computer to basically leave it at default settings. Make sure the computer goes to sleep after it's idle for some amount of time, and make sure that the forced password is turned on for when you initially interact with the computer. Don't save your personal logins on your work machines. If you're, on social media or anything like that, any kind of account, if you're on your bank accounts, if you're on any kind of account on a work machine, like sitting at your desk at work, don't save those logins. Or, use that password manager and log out of it at the end of the day. Something like that. Just don't save your personal logins on any computer that isn't in your home under your supervision 24/7. Because you may forget to log out at the end of the day, and your logins will stay. Your Facebook account will be logged in. Even if it's a Sunday afternoon, you can still be logged in because you forgot to log out or you saved your personal login. So make sure to not save any logins while you're at work or any public machine. Don't use key paths like QWERTY. If you look at your keyboard, there's QWERTY, there's ASDFG, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any of these keyboard patterns, these are called key paths. Do not use those for passwords. I think it was second place. QWERTY was the second place password, for most frequently used password last year. And it was second only to the word password. So people are using these things like password, like QWERTY, all of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They'll use these easy, key paths because they're right in front of them and they won't forget them. But do not do that. That is one of the first things that any brute force hacker would try. And special characters are best. Like I said earlier, I know I said that we need, as IT administrators, to step away from the complexity requirements, but also as users, we need to remember that those special characters can work. If you put an underscore in the middle of your name or anyone's first and last name, if you put an underscore there or something like that, or if you use the word watermelon and the E is the number 3 with an at symbol instead of the letter A, things like that, they can save you from brute force because these brute force guys only have so many attempts before the account just shuts down, and a special character can save you. So even if it's not required, it might be a good idea to throw one in while you're creating your passwords. And a quick look to the future. Identity management as a service, I think this is going to keep picking up, especially with IT service providers like Intiva. Um, Basically, companies can outsource this kind of password management and things like that, where things like 2FA, we can offer Duo to a business and they can know that their logins are secured, and we monitor the logins. If there's any activity going on, we can either remedy the situation or we can let you know that something's happening and take a look at it, with you. So identity management as a service, I think once businesses see how cost effective it is with how common data theft is becoming, identity management as a service is going to keep growing for businesses of all sizes. Improved options for second factors. Maybe somebody doesn't want a phone call, maybe they want a text, something like that. I think as it continues to grow, we'll start to cut down on the time it takes, even though you saw it took less than 10 seconds for me to use the second factor of my multi-factor authentication. And improved monitoring. This is more on the IT service provider side of things, where we will be able to see things as they happen in real time and prevent them or alert you as needed. So I think it's this method of using multi-factor authentication with any size business is what's going to keep growing. It'll just be more refined through time. And there you have it. I told you I was going to keep this one short. Just wanted to get to the point with these passwords. So let's go through a quick summary. Don't forget the simple things. Don't save your logins on a computer that isn't in your house. Force the password on your machine, even if it is in your house. Always force the password when it turns on, when it wakes from idle, any of that. And don't use key paths. You have to step away from those super simplistic passwords like that. Never share a password with anyone. It doesn't matter if it's your best friend and you're texting them your Facebook password. Do not do anything like that. You don't want your passwords written down anywhere, in any form, digital or on paper. You don't want your passwords to be visible anywhere. Look into multi-factor authentication. You can, and this applies to personal and business accounts, because you may think, well, that's for my boss to decide for my work accounts and things like that. But the thing is, multi-factor authentication, it's already available for things like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of these websites. I guarantee your bank uses it. This two-factor authentication it's the only way to keep accounts secure, especially with all the data breaches that keep happening. We keep seeing, bank records are being stolen, logins are being stolen from this and this, and your data is shared everywhere. And your password is probably going to be stolen at some point. Multi-factor authentication is the only thing that keeps you safe. Even if they steal your password, they can't get in without your phone or your chosen method. I can be email even. Unless they have access to that second factor to get into your account, they'll never get in. So look into multi-factor authentication for your business accounts and for your personal things as well. And the last thing, utilize a password manager, like LastPass, or just Google any password manager. There are a lot of totally respectable companies that are doing this. You have one master login that you set a backup. You set backup access basically through your personal email account, just in case something would happen. And all of your passwords are taken care of. You can make them as complex as you want, because all you have to do is remember that password manager password. Once you log into that, it auto fills all your logins for you, and it's kind of the alternative to writing passwords down. You don't have to worry about keeping them. So there you go. That's the password best practice webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, or if you're interested in multi-factor authentication or anything we talked about, my personal email is corey.shields@intiva.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, or I can direct you to your personal rep who can help you through the process of getting anything added that you'd like. And yeah, we'd be happy to hear from you. So just let us know. Thanks. Have a good day.